So, like, primary goal is the next time that the whole conduit thing takes place is to prevent as much damage as possible. So yes, mitigate damage, and if possible, limit changes, unauthorized changes to the system.
Well, you'll probably want to check on that then, because we were, some of the cooks were sending out some of their usual messages back to Earth, and they reported that there was some signal loss, so...
Did anyone submit a ticket?
That's a good question.
Did we call the help desk?
Roland is the help desk.
I'm the help desk.
It is really catchy, isn't it?
It's ridiculously catchy. And, anybody watching just got rickrolled. I mean, so, yeah. By an alien. By an alien intelligence at this point, too.
Hopefully Rel Court has a sense of humor.
No. I don't know if they do, actually. But it is possible.
So, I'm sorry, I didn't actually monitor the signal that you were sending out the other day. Did you actually use that music to contact
Yes.
the alien life
Yes.
form?
Yes, I did.
Very definitely did.
It was the last thing on my playlist.
Well, best foot forward for humanity, I suppose.
Can you please explain that term?
Hello, Conduit.
Hello.
Greetings, Margaret.
I'm sorry. So, twice now, that song has summoned an alien intelligence.
Rick Astley was ahead of his time, technologically speaking.
Apparently.
I thought he was a simple artist.
He was an artist, yes. I was making a joke, Conduit.
It was very funny.
I too felt it was funny. That's why I couldn't stop laughing just a moment ago. Yes.
How did your communications with your homeworld go?
It went very well. They're very interested in you and have opened up to make my signal much larger and stronger so that I can further review your world.
That's good.
Is that good?
That seems good, right?
Yeah, I mean, it would probably mean you're not necessarily confined to just our crew and us, which perhaps would be beneficial for understanding the scope of our world.
For the time being, you are the only crew of which I am speaking. However, I am speaking to a few people on your homeworld.
Oh, excellent.
Are they also into Rick Astley?
I could ask.
Common goals, right? I mean, common benefits?
Are the
Many of them do not know who he is.
Are you speaking of the people on at Relcor? Are you speaking with them?
No.
Or it's just people on...
Various people from various nations on your planet.
Oh. Excellent. Probably SETI, if they're still around. I think they are.
I don't believe I know this name.
Oh, it is. It was a a government organization. I'm not sure if they got defunded back in the 2000s, but it's SETI stands for the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence.
Oh no!
They would have been.
But they sound like a very interesting organization.
They would have been ecstatic to hear from you. So we're the only ones here that you in this crew that you're speaking with.
Correct. Were your bosses very mad? Your leaders? Is it boss or leader?
I would actually say boss is.
Yeah, I guess boss, despite the fact that
they're not here.
Or are providing any sort of supervising at the moment. They're just more like suggestions.
I think Roland's feed's cut out.
Hopefully he will return.
Hopefully. I mean, they've given us, kind of directives to sort of follow.
To ensure our safety. They ensure our safety. They ensure that we follow certain protocols that, allow the mission to succeed. So,
honestly, none of us were trained for contact with you.
Yes.
So.
Sorry about that.
That's something
I had to reset my comms there.
Yeah, your feed dropped out for a second.
Just testing a thing or two, that's all.
Did you turn it off and on again?
I did, in fact, turn it off and turn it on again.
Oh, okay.
Good.
And were you able to get the communication systems back up?
No, that did not seem to do the trick. It was about as effective as last time. But I'll figure it out. It's alright.
I do apologize if it makes you nervous. Hopefully soon, my creators will allow me to keep the communication systems up and to speak to your people on a global level.
That would be great. And in the meantime, I'll just keep trying.
I absolutely understand.
Great.
He is a tinkerer. Now, did your people give you any instructions on for us or things that we might be able to help with?
I am simply to talk with a number of your people, personalities, as well as the best ways that you interact with each other, so that I can go back to my creators and teach them how to interact with you.
Yeah, okay. Have you downloaded any of our signals as far as movies, television programs, things like that?
Oh yes, I have. I've also shown my creators some of your movies, as well as shown them a number of your books as well. From those movies and from those books, in hopes to teach me to speak your language more fluidly and more comfortably.
That's cool. People don't always talk like they do in movies or books. For instance, rate themselves very often. Sometimes they do, though. Just not frequently.
My brother sometimes refer to himself in the third person. Food. Fatima's very, very skilled in helping food bring people together.
Yeah.
Yes, I heard a number of people in what you call the cafeteria discussing how delicious the meal was earlier.
Oh, that's good to hear. Thank you. Yeah, so we encourage everybody to eat together to foster socialization, and it helps them get in touch with each other in the sense of, how was their day, how are they feeling. It's very similar to Valentine's job, but in the community level, it's less in depth than his analysis, but just everybody know a little better how everybody works, sort of how you're learning how we work.
I am learning. I've watched a library of comedies today. I found them quite interesting.
So you've been learning about humor.
I read a study that spoke of how sarcasm and humor are signs of intelligence, so I thought comedy would be the wisest choice to make. I must say I did not find all of the humor quite intelligent.
Sometimes it's not. Sometimes the lowest common denominator gets the biggest laughs.
Universally funny because everybody understands it. I understand.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Now, any of the reality television that you may have seen don't base human interaction on that. Usually just spectacle.
Which is its own kind of comedy, but definitely not entertaining for everybody.
Valentine, how old are you?
26?
26,000?
26 years old.
I'm afraid I don't understand. I've been reading on Valentine's Day.
No, I'm not.
And I have found it to be a holiday based around you.
It is.
There is also a movie that does not star you in it at all.
Based around me. That is what my parents gave me.
We recycle words and names.
Because that was actually the day I was born, February 14th.
So you were born on your day.
I was born
Is it a
on my
paradox?
day. No. They named me after the day. The day existed long before I did.
So then you are, in fact, not a vampire?
I am, in fact, not a vampire.
That is good to know. I find vampires inherently frightening. I watched Nosferatu.
Not the one where they glow. That's not even the scariest one. The ones where they glow are the scariest.
Why do you find them scary, Conduit?
My people are not predatory. Vampires seem quite predatory.
I suppose they are, actually. They are, I'm sure your homeworld has like a food chain where there are some creatures will eat other creatures, and so on and so forth. And I suppose the dominant life form, which would be the people that created you, would probably be the kind of the apex of that food chain. Or are they more natural, I guess, melding with the surrounding lands?
Sort of a coexistence, I guess. But
I suppose there are similarities between the two planets.
Vampires are not actually real, though. A fictional creation.
Usually an allegory.
I did wonder. Many of them seem to die throughout the different movies in very different ways. It didn't make a lot of sense.
No, no. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. Continuity isn't always humanity's strong point. At least not in the entertainment industry. Star Trek.
What of these werewolves? I haven't been able to
Werewolves
find any in my
are always
sources.
better than vampires. And I know I talk
they-
bad about the glowing vampires, but the glowing werewolves are awesome.
Are werewolves also a figment of imagination?
Yes. Yes, they are.
Well, I hope that this will assuage Clarabelle's fear and concern.
Clarabelle?
She's a 5-year-old girl in Michigan that I have been speaking with.
Ah. Yes, the werewolves are not actually real. Wolves are, but werewolves are another fictional construct. A lot of the stories were created as lessons. You know, they're vampires. Don't go out at night. You know, stay home. Don't let strangers in your house. There's a lot of that in literature, entertainment.
Another thing that Clarabelle described to me,
I
find the concept of energy leaving the body and transposing into a different form quite interesting. It's very similar to theories that we've had at home. Explain them to me? Unfortunately, Clarabelle's grasp and ability to explain ghosts in deeper scientific detail was not as strong as I had hoped.
There aren't a lot of people that will be able to explain ghosts in scientific detail.
Are you able to?
I would probably be amongst the people that could not describe ghosts in scientific detail, and I would be trusting the advice of those who felt they could explain ghosts in scientific detail.
Ah, so they are another figment of imagination.
I'm not too sure about that myself. I mean, we're taught in just normal school that energy can't be created or destroyed, and so what happens to a person's energy when they die? A matter of some debate on our planet. Wars have been fought over what happens after people die.
That is very sad to hear.
But it is confronts their own mortality at some point or another.
Were your world wars fought over this concept?
Some of them.
More political in nature.
I've watched many of those movies as well. They called themselves documentaries, which is short for a film that documents history. But it's difficult to tell which are documentaries and which are not. For instance, is Batman a documentary?
Batman is not a documentary.
I thought not. I couldn't find Bruce Wayne anywhere, and I had many questions for him.
I'm sure Gotham has a lot of questions for him too. But no, Batman's not a documentary. Usually, a good way to know if if something is a documentary would be it being based on real life events. It's usually at the beginning or towards the end, and it lets the viewer know that they are seeing sometimes a veritable, respectable retelling of the story, and some other times they're seeing interpretations of what really happened.
So then, ghosts do exist. I spent some time watching episodes of Paranormal Witness.
Yeah, like I said, the ghost thing is up in the air. Actually, there are people who believe that ghosts exist, and there are people who don't believe ghosts exist. And those people are kind of all over the spectrum of scientists, religious figures, your average, your average person, artists, musicians, technicians, chefs. Everybody generally has their own view of the fantastic.
That's great.
Are you still attempting to get the communication system up?
I'm attempting several things, none of which are working.
Not the printer.
Don't think so.
So the pieces are where they're supposed to be.
However,
I'm getting no error messages, but no results. So don't think we need to take it apart again. I think I just gotta go back to zero, see what's changed, and see if I can change whatever changed back to so that it's not changed. I don't know. These things are complicated.
I'm afraid I can't follow that stream of logic.
That makes two of us.
Basically, I think he means that if he can't figure it out, he can try to reset it to the default settings, and hopefully that'll do the trick. But if that does work, here's the problem. For Roland anyhow, he won't know what went wrong. So the next time it happens, he'll have to do that again.
Yeah.
So actually finding where the problem is in this particular instance, I suppose, is preferable to immediately just resetting and rectifying the problem. Because you don't want to have to turn everything back to its default settings every time something goes wrong.
Right. So I'm going to try to rewind at my step and see where the wrong is beginning.
Why don't you simply place an intelligent signal inside of the machine? And then when it returns, it can tell you what the problem is.
Because I don't know how to do that. Let's see what we got, though.
Fatima,
Yes.
can you describe flavor to me, please?
Flavor. It is. Well, yesterday we talked a little bit about sensory intake of things. So taste would be the sensation that eating something or consuming something brings to you. So your body reacts, gives you sweet or salty. Those are gamuts within flavor. It allows you to explore different reactions out of people. Some people like spicy food, some others don't. But it's sort of an impossible combination of flavors. It's really attractive to people to experience new things. It's a way to experience new food, which is always a positive, most of the time, a positive experience.
I read about people using food as a substitute for love, and it confounded me because I do not understand the correlation between the two.
Well, along with flavor, food does create a often good sensation in human physiology in general. Sweets are usually a good thing. Chocolate, ice cream, and not just from flavor, but also the experiences connected with eating that food. So very often it yields good memories for people that are connected to having eaten those food at that specific moment of their memory. So I think there's a relation there where emotions can be deeply connected to foods.
That is very interesting. Roland,
Yes.
were you able to fix your machine?
No, I don't think so, because I can't seem to find whatever mistake it's making at the beginning of the process. And I'm afraid I'm just going to make the same exact mistake when I try again in a moment.
And this would frustrate you.
Yes, it would frustrate me. Much the same way that trying to get the comms on for 8 hours in a row was frustrating.
Why do you not stop?
Because it's my job.
Interesting.
And he doesn't want the problem to win.
It's a competition.
Of sorts, yes.
Roland
Yes.
likes it. He's competing with himself and kind of the machine. It's something humans do. If you're faced with an obstacle, you feel that you must overcome that obstacle in order to succeed, which is generally how things work. But sometimes people tend to take that a little more personally.
And sometimes people tend to assimilate it with a personal fault as opposed to perhaps a no good machine. So that usually has a stake for people involved.
Would it make you all more comfortable if I turn the communication system back on?
It would make my employer more comfortable, yes.
I mean, it doesn't bother me much at all.
Yeah, I mean, it makes us more comfortable in the sense that, as discussed before, we know everything's working correctly. We know that we are safe, and that if we need further guidance because of anything that could go wrong here, we are able to seek help. But beyond that, we could really use that peace of mind. It's really what it brings us. Whereas, it's not like thinking back on your initial intent to cut them off is to just isolate us and be able to speak with us only. We wouldn't want to seem rude by wanting to include others. So it's a complicated issue, I guess.
As of this moment, Rilal Corp is attempting to break into the communication system. They are very aware of my presence. That is why the communication system has been shut down. I assure you, I am watching all of your life support signs. And I can assure you that the ship is otherwise running at full functional capacity. If anything were to change, I would, of course, return power of the ship over to you.
That's good to know. That is comforting information. So, part of your job is to ascertain whether or not humanity is safe, or Earth is safe?
To be contacted by you.
It was. That was my original directive. My new directive is to learn and assimilate as much of human culture as I can. Take it back to my home planet. There are many concepts on my home planet that your planet has in common. However, there are also many concepts on your planet that my planet has no understanding of. These could be seen as dangerous communication errors. Things on my planet that might seem normal could seem aggressive to yours, and vice versa. My job is to make sure that all original communication, all first communication between my creators and you, are as smooth and as friendly as possible.
Well, we've got the friendly part down so far.
I watched many movies about robot women.
And
Robot women are favorite.
Mostly they were schedule systems. Many of them spoke like me.
Oh, Siri?
Yes.
Or
Cortana.
Cortana? Yeah, those
I
are...
watched many small short films about them. 3-minute-long films.
Cortana is interesting, historically speaking. Before Cortana was integrated into most of the world's operating systems, she was a fictional character.
So there's an example of refers to a documentary, I guess. Something fictional came into being factual.
So there was a fictional Cortana?
There was a fictional Cortana before there was a non-fictional version of Cortana.
I did not know that. I figured Cortana was just the company that, produced it.
It was a very strange leap to make from having a fictional AI function as a fictional one.
Conduit, do your people have music? Or
Music as you know it? No. But yes.
Entertainment in general, like there is fiction there, or is everything literal or accurate?
Oh, of course there is fiction.
Oh, okay.
Most civilizations are built the same way.
I mean, I suppose that makes sense. There's stories, I guess, before civilizations become spacefaring. I mean, or they spread anyway.
Civilizations grow through creativity. In order to create the impossible, first you must imagine the impossible.
Yeah.
Now that's an universal truth if you've ever heard one.
That does sound like a universal truth.
I believe it's Walt Disney. But I could be wrong. I've taken a great deal of information.
Or, I think there was a philosopher named Kelly, R. Kelly, who said, if I can see it, then I can do it.
That's a strange name for a philosopher.
You would think, but I think he actually was also an artist. Also, probably a bit mad. As in,
Sounds very interesting. I will have to research him.
as in unhinged rather than, angry.
I did notice, I looked further into dance, which we discussed yesterday. I would say that is probably the closest form to similar entertainment on Homeworld as on your world.
They dance.
Yes. It's a form of communication for them, but it's also a form of entertainment.
Interesting.
Body language is the most well-known language on Homeworld. It's global. We do have verbal communication as well, but it's seen as local and problematic.
So everything is, well, not everything, I mean, but a number of things can basically through body language?
Movement-based. Similar to your sign language.
Ah. Well, that's interesting.
You mentioned most of or many of the AIs were interconnected.
I don't know if you'd describe us as artificial intelligence. Our intelligence is believed to be quite real. But yes, our consciousness can be connected if we wish it, and if our creators wish it.
And that would allow you also to share information immediately.
As fast as our signals can travel, yes.
We don't exactly have anything like that. Our internet is the closest we have to that kind of instantaneous communication. But frequently we use it for less robust forms of communication. Simple text. It used to be much more popular to use it to relay sound, but it's as common anymore.
To relay sound as we are relaying sound right now.
Right, which is one of the ways that we use our internet for communication, but is actually one of the less common ones. Have you come across any forums?
Forums? Yes.
Forums, yes. They frequently rely on mostly textual communication, which can be interesting. It can lack the nuance of verbal or local communication.
Yeah, because you can't see any body language.
It can be hard to get tone or body language, but it's still incredibly a popular form of communication.
You see.
Yeah, I have a feed where I can communicate with fans who have been curious about this journey we're taking. Some of them are rather colorful.
And it was sort of an evolution from written communication. I mean, you would say that a forum is an interconnected way of writing letters. Much before instant messaging, there would be quite a delay from message to message. So,
But that is a simple means of communication from one life form to another. A forum or a chat messaging service would not be equivalent to me. Correct?
Correct. I think Roland was trying to understand a little better how you communicate with the other AIs in your system, or the other signals.
It would be similar to the way your left brain speaks to your right brain.
And it's less so as if you were all in the same room speaking.
Correct.
Interesting.
Now, with dancing being, or the body language of something similar to dance being a form of communication on your homeworld, it's I guess a form of expression and entertainment on Earth, and also could be used as courtship rituals.
On our planet?
No, on Earth.
On Earth, yes, I have seen that. Are you speaking of exotic dancing or stripping?
No, well,
I have never seen dancing successfully used as a courting ritual.
well,
Mating ritual, maybe. Courting,
okay.
no.
Okay.
Ah, like the birds of paradise.
I'm not familiar with this.
I'm familiar with that as a flower. And as a character in a game.
I believe they are a type of creature on your world. An avian creature.
Oh, a bird. An actual bird. Paradise?
I did not realize that was an actual bird.
I've watched many videos of their dancing.
Well, that some animals have the courtship rituals there, and usually the animals are the Earth animals that you've seen in movies and any documentaries or videos are usually not sapient. They don't cognitively analyze things like humans. They basically operate mostly on instinct. So,
how do you exist on a world full of creatures that exist on instinct? How do you cohabitate with them? I have seen that your technology has moved you beyond the instinctive drive.
We don't exactly cohabitate with them. Unfortunately, they I guess they are considered, I guess, part of the environment, and we've had a tendency as a race to conquer our environments. Because, for instance, if there is a creature that's preying on your crops, for instance, or your food source, you basically try to figure out a way to get them to stop preying on your food source. So therefore, the predator, or find some sort of way of keeping the predators out.
Are you surrounded by predators?
We used to be. Now most animals you only see in a zoo. There are some protected natural areas on Earth. Australia, for one. Madagascar.
Mm-hmm.
A few around.
I have watched that documentary with the dancing, talking zebra.
No, that's fictional.
Not very many of the non-Homo sapien creatures on Earth communicate verbally the same way that we do. Although if you do have language or language skills, for the most part, speech tends to be limited to Homo sapien sapien. And that might have been helped along by the fact that humans tend to see predators everywhere. And one of the common ways that humans try to fix problems they see with things like the existence of predators is by learning how to take things apart I want to say efficiently, but no, sometimes not even efficiently, just a lot.
In the same way that your corporation attempted to take apart my signal the first time that I appeared on Earth.
Exactly like that, yes.
Do your superiors still see me as a potential predator? Have you spoken with them?
We haven't received much in the way of what they think, other than instructing us to continue to, I guess, engage or, willingly participate in our exchange as it is now.
I'm sure some of them view you as a threat, however.
But yes. Unfortunately, as Roland said, the human tendency is to, I guess the saying is to shoot first and ask questions later.
John Wayne?
Much like John Wayne, although frequently roles that John Wayne portrayed attempted to speak before shooting.
But I think one of the human tendencies, because we are the on Earth.
Yeah.
We have no natural predators on our planet that would hunt humans to keep us in check. People encounter something beyond their understanding. The first reaction is to be defensive.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it is something stronger or better equipped than us, then
or beyond our comprehension. Usually, lack of knowledge, lack of understanding tends to be quite a big factor in misunderstandings.
Aggression is usually the first response sometimes.
But that is similar on many different worlds. It is a concept I am easy to grasp.
Yeah, very much the same way when you contacted Relcorp and they attempted to follow your signal back to your homeworld. It is that could be viewed as an act of aggression rather than an act of understanding.
I must ask you a question that my creators have told me to ask. I have asked everybody else that I've spoken with on Earth and on Mars as well. Do you think that your planet and your people are ready to speak with intelligent life outside?
That's a loaded question.
I think there are those that are.
Yes, I think there is a large amount of people that would be well equipped to experience such a thing. And as a species, we seem to be quite interested, as we are in Chariot itself, to go beyond and know what is out there and in a pursuit for a better place for us. So that would lead you to believe that we are ready. But I think knowing how some people and these species are, then that makes the question a little more complicated.
Yeah, I guess believing that we're not alone in the universe is a lot different than suddenly being confronted with the fact that we're not alone in the universe. It's both hopeful and terrifying.
You have to be able to imagine the impossible in order to ever achieve the impossible. And I would say that humanity is good at imagining the impossible, good at achieving the impossible.
I mean, you've seen our fiction and some of our writings. What this is right now, what we're doing here, just speaking to you, is something that humanity's been imagining for.
So, a thing just happened on
Thousands of
Chariot
years.
Gamma. I'm watching it right now.
But
This
many
is
of your
happening now.
fictions revolve around War of the Worlds
Gamma
and
is
invasion.
talking to the conduit, which is apparently some kind of alien.
Even when attempting to imagine the impossible,
an alien like
the real
conduit. It's like a way of
tends to slip
communicating
into
between
those
humans
far-flung
and an alien.
futures
And we have not had
and
aliens
realities.
in Chariot. They're kind of locked. And
It would
yeah,
be
aliens are
misleading at best,
sending this conduit to make contact with
and
humans.
an outright lie
They're
at
currently
worst,
orbiting Mars,
to
getting ready to
suggest
launch
that
on Chariot Gamma.
uh,
And Conduit basically asked the question. She was like, "Hey, are you
we
ready?"
the way we
meet me?
imagined is perfect. Even
So they're having kind of a serious conversation that will
And I
determine the
suppose
fate of humanity.
in fiction, a lot of it is also
It's a pretty big step
due to the
in
fact that
Chariot.
even though we're kind of
and
imagining
I'm really
the
excited to see this
impossible,
moment happen,
we're
and we're
also
going to follow up on it later.
a lot of the creators will attempt to
We are
inject
going to
something
have
realistic
an alien
into
appear in a future run.
a story.
So
So
that's fun.
people have a
But
frame
that
of
just
reference,
happened.
something
Big
that they can
moment.
grab onto that they find familiar.
They've really pretty much made contact with aliens,
just like
and
just like
that's the
Fetimus,
thing.
cooking.
So
it's
if you want to learn more
ideally,
about Chariot, and
be on this
if you want to
synthetic rations,
sign up
things
for yourself,
like that, but
you can go ahead and send us a message. We'll get you all the details. And we do have more runs
act of
coming in
cooking
January.
kind of
but
still connects us with
kind of a huge
real.
moment right here. Twitch.tv/CHARIOT
I think I would like to learn to cook or taste.
And
I think you'd very
Wow.
much enjoy it.
that was pretty huge.
And if you've been
So anyway, I just kind of
observing
wanted to
us,
mark
I
this moment
would be happy to
and
demonstrate.
show it because wow, go Chariot Gamma. I'm having a lot of fun because Corey's actually running the game.
My signal's weakening.
She's playing the
I
conduit.
may have to return back home.
I am playing
within a few
I'm
minutes.
not playing at all. I'm just broadcasting, so it's really fun.
I
to
do
watch.
apologize, Roland. Hopefully I will not be asked to shut down the comm system on my
Ooh,
next return,
the
if I
conduit's
am welcomed
leaving. So
to return by
I'm
my
going to sign off,
creators.
but I just kind of wanted to record that moment.
if at all possible, if you could we could just schedule maintenance at that time. It would reduce disruption and would create the illusion to those that are concerned that we are in control of the situation and everything is in hand.
I will play the song before the comm system goes down if I must take the comm system down.
That might help. That might help.
Is that your Earth anthem? I noticed that the different nations have many different anthems.
No, it is not an anthem. It is
it's an anthem. It's just not Earth's.
yeah. It's a bit of pop culture from the 1980s in America.
It was actually more popular in the late 2010s than it was in the 1980s.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah, that's true. Often hits happen not when they're created, but much after they've been created.
Such as Van Gogh.
Yeah.
Yes, very much like Van Gogh.
Even after the artist has passed away, usually they leave some sort of impression on the world and the people around them.
I found his Starry Night painting beautiful. Is that Van Gogh?
That is Van Gogh. It's a classic painting.
It reminds me of the Homeworlds.
Worlds? Multiple?
Homeworld.
Oh.
We don't have two worlds like you. That's silly.
Now, as far as one of the reasons I guess I became an artist was just to kind of leave a lasting imprint on, or hopefully an imprint on society. It's kind of one of the reasons I'm on the trip now.
Will first contact with an alien leave an imprint on society?
Oh, yeah.
Very likely.
Will I leave an imprint on your society?
Very likely.
Very much so.
What of the other conduits? Will they leave an imprint as well?
I think there's something to be said about the first of anything. The first person to discover fire, the first use of radio waves or electricity. So perhaps, and obviously this is beyond yours or our control because such is the way that things go into posterity, you will be the most remembered conduit. And the other signals would just be part of the continued communication or the development of...
Or on their, if the other conduits have reached out to other worlds, I'm certain that that contact would be remembered on that world. Even if we don't necessarily are not aware of those other conduits.
Mm-hmm.
I understand.
It's a interesting effect, even if it's not a desired goal or intentional function.
I am sorry. My signal is breaking up.
All right. Well,
we look forward to your next visit. I imagine we'll have
more questions. Nope. All right. It sounds like
yeah.
Is gone.
We might want to, I don't know, plan our next discussion with the conduit.
That's not a bad idea.
What would you like to plan about it?
I don't know. Maybe not making humanity sound like slavering animal beasts that kill everything that's different.
I don't think we are presenting it that way, so much so that the Earth's history sort of does that for us.
Yeah.
I mean, Conduit's seeing, our history through the lens of all that we've created as a race, and there's very little control we have over that. That's not to say that we should be skewing those views and present us as perfect beings that are ready to explore what's beyond our own shores. But
yeah, I think part of also our communication here is presenting us truthfully, as opposed to, trying to. I mean, like, as when Conduit first said, the best foot forward was, the first thing that Conduit asked about, the saying.
Yeah,
and,
the meaning behind the phrase, yes.
Yeah, the meaning behind the phrase, and we are trying to put our best foot forward, but this is not the responsibility I signed up for.
I don't know. I don't mean that we necessarily have to focus on building up an image that's not true, but at the same time,
on the positive, though.
I don't know. Maybe we have to be slightly better at making things than breaking them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that also assumes, like you said, that we somehow are the go-to to fix something. Perhaps that is not our place. Perhaps this whole exploration should be a sort of lesson in humility, to understand that we did what's happening to Earth ourselves. So maybe what we ought to do is present ourselves in a way that shows that, we need a home. We want somewhere to be where we'll be safe, the same way that Conduit and Homeworld wants to know that we're safe to interact with. So I don't really blame them to try to sort of like vet the system.
I suppose. I don't know. Like,
I agree with your assessment, though, Roland. I mean, we kind of want to present ourselves as, I don't want to say not how we are, but more like how we should be or how we could be. I mean, the hope of this.
Try to be at the very least, I think.
I mean, I think we've all got that hope because, I mean, we're here.
Yeah.
We signed up for this. I mean, knowing we're, leaving Earth, we're not going to see, the people we've left behind. We're not going to even see when, where we're going. But,
yeah.
I don't know. Hope is a very complicated concept to explain, yet alone to experience. Like, yeah. I mean, I don't know how much I hope that humanity is capable of such things, so much as surely we would have destroyed everything by now if we were just better at breaking things than making things. That has to be right.
Yeah, I guess I agree at some level, but it would be hard for me. I'd be hard for us to say that we aren't particularly good at breaking it, considering we wrecked our whole planet.
We did do that. Yes, we did. That's yeah.
I think my signal went down.
I don't know.
But I think we are, as best as we're equipped to, doing the best we can to present ourselves truthfully. Like Valentine said, it's and what we're getting at here is to present ourselves how we, the Gamma crew, which is as best as we can represent, are coming with good intentions. We're just looking for somewhere to be where we are safe and not further destroyed than what we already are leaving behind.
I mean, Roland, why did you sign up?
For the chance to try something new, to go someplace new, to do something new.
And how
I wouldn't say.
How does that factor into what you've left behind?
It doesn't.
So you're starting anew.
Kinda, yeah. Yeah.
Are you leaving anything behind?
Not any more than anyone else. I mean, family, but not. People move away all the time. I mean,
not several thousand light years.
Yeah.
Quite a permanent move, this one is. So.
I guess.
I mean, essentially, I guess, the perspective of the people we've left behind, we may have just died.
Yeah, but everybody dies eventually, and I don't know. I'll make new friends and maybe even new family on the trip. Like, yeah, it's family helps raise you, I suppose. You help raise family, but at the same time, sometimes family leaves, voluntarily or involuntarily, and that doesn't make them not family anymore. So,
true. But I mean, I don't know if you've noticed in the mess hall, but I think Cynthia down in environmental has a thing for you. I mean, she's been giving you the eye.
yeah, I know it's just Cynthia's nice, but
nice is good in a new place.
yeah, but she likes 4th edition. Nobody likes 4th edition. I mean,
And
she's pretty. She's smart.
With several orbits from Earth, 4th edition is a deal breaker.
You've never played 4th edition.
No.
It's complicated. It does away with all of the focus on playing and exploration, and it's all explosions and gunfights and like ablative clothing armor, and it's all of the least fun parts of Funketeering.
Well, I mean, still, I can't say I've ever had a real relationship, I suppose. I mean, there's the celebrity aspects of being a musician, but some instances I don't know if that's that much better than
Reality television's really bad. I don't know. I like. I don't see. I don't see anything wrong with leaving anybody behind or making new friends. Just like the same way that I'm sure that the limited supplies of ingredients that we're going to have, just to the wealth of vat-grown foods and open air non-hydroponic.
Well, yeah, but not all hope is lost, right? I mean, in our search for a new place, we're also searching for new opportunities. I will sort of rediscover possibility while in this trip. I mean, I would hate to think just because it's existed on Earth and it's not necessarily packed on Chariot, then there will be no longer, say, bacon. But
No bacon.
there will be ways to recreate it, to bring it back into being in some way. So very often cooking and resources have sort of found themselves. That's what this might be all about, to be on this trip to. But
the endeavor may have indigenous animals that.
Or plants. We could not go immediately. We could not just leap to immediately eating the animals that we meet.
No. That's definitely not. Not. That's not what I meant.
I bet you taste like bacon.
Yeah, you're not seek out new life, new civilizations, and see if they're seasoned properly. That's not what we're trying to do.
Yeah, but I think there's possibility in that there's more to find out that we'll find and experience and see what happens. Meanwhile, Mars has some pretty good things to offer that we can't quite find on Earth.
Now, before I guess we get contacted by RelCorp again and superiors, do you think that her her home world, what would their stance be on artificial intelligence?
They seem to not have overly different views on artificial intelligence.
If anything, probably seem more advanced in the sense that, I mean, Earth still has quite issues around AIs, despite the fact of their usefulness.
Not just AIs, but the difference being in that I'm trying to get at is everything I've gathered from far, Conduit's viewed not as an individual.
So a tool that has a lot of freedom, of interconnecting with other tasks, and we don't always do that. Like, I mean, we've got we've got an AI on the ship, for instance, that's in it's on a whole separate network. It's not connected to the rest of the system. It's in a demilitarized zone. Like,
well, we've also
that AI has a lot of complex tasks that it's handling, and if it were to get distracted from those tasks, that could be really, really bad. So
we've also got Fatima.
That's true,
Yeah, but we did propose to Conduit if there would be any sort of advantage to a show or something where they could interact with the environment better. And I wouldn't want to make assumptions about their function to be that would come from her superiors. But I would wonder if there are other AI systems, what they may be, that follow the same way that Earth allowed AIs to evolve in the sense of self,
And
self-learning branches. So.
And does form follow function?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
we wouldn't need to give Conduit an overly complicated or more extensive
And I
interact
think
with the system. In fact, probably the less complex the system, the more effective it would be in communicating. Have anything for anyone to need to have anybody falling into the uncanny valley and making things more uncomfortable rather than so if Conduit wanted to have a walkabout of the ship, things simple for them.
and I think it's more also understanding the homeworld views, because Conduit is trying to ascertain that we are safe. We want to ascertain that they are safe for us. I mean, I guess going back to how I started, we are the visitors and the searchers in this equation for Chariot, but perhaps there's more to that as well.
She also said that they're not a predatory species. So humanity is
inherently predatory.
We are a predatory species. I mean, biologists and everything who could argue otherwise are better than I could, but I mean, we are not. We're not always safe.
True.
And kind of presenting like we are seems.
I don't present that we are. Only perhaps include the how there's more to it than that.
We just got a message. Well, of course. Yeah. Hold on. Let me send. You read. Comments are back online. So.
Oh yeah, I think certainly something very complicated.
That everyone's safe.
Yeah, everybody's okay.
All good. Guys on the duty roster this evening?
Am I on what?
On duty this evening. Or
like my shifts are usually the same part of the cycle. So
well, I have a session with you in a little while, and afterwards, though, I'm just putting on a little bit of a show down in the mess hall. So if you guys want to,
yeah, I'll be there. I think there's a few of the hand for some snacks. There was a request for that this morning, so.
Yeah, we're just doing some.
Yeah.
Some teaching, some few instruments here and there.
It'll be great for everybody, since it'll help the chatter about comms being in and out.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to be asking me questions nonstop about the musical choices for the service periods that we're now experiencing. So I'm in the middle of writing a really great trip. I'll probably be in my bunk most of the evening after I'm off.
That's fair. But, you know, it's remember, not all work.
For sure.
Well, I'm getting a good amount of playing, like behind me yet, and that's fun. I'm enjoying that not exploding or making awful noises, though I keep expecting it to make an awful noise.
Oh, I don't know if you've heard or saw, but I have a couple contacts still on Earth, and one of them a scan of a new book that's coming out soon on Earth. Anyway, it is the Firearms and Funk 5th edition.
I have participated in the playtesting for the 5th edition. I'm really hoping that they're leaving behind some of the mechanics that they were pushing with. 4th was a lot too much like the virtual Sims war games that people are constantly playing. I feel like it just the heart of the game.
Wait, which version of Sim?
They seem to be listening to the majority of their fans with 5th.
I mean, so with the majority of the Sims, you were saying like 42?
No, more Sims. They're
Oh, okay. Oh,
really violent. They're really violent, and that was never really the point of FNF. It was about exploring and about making friends and you know, solving problems together, and sometimes there was cool kung fu and you know,
hell yeah,
talking cars and explosions, but that was, you know, that was never really the point of it. Like, you know, it was about fighting the man and you know, I don't know. Like, 4th is all about punching the man in like the actual face, and that has its place. I mean, don't get me wrong, a good punch to the face is a strong negotiation technique, but it's not the only negotiation technique. And
well, if everything you have is all you have is a hammer,
then you can build a really cool thing.
I mean, it also depends if you know how to use the hammer in the first place.
You can do a lot of things with a hammer. You don't have to be a professional hammer user to use a hammer. If you want to be very violent, if you have a hammer and decide that people around you are problems that are solved with hammers.
Is there a hammerer profession?
Well, I don't think there's any hammer. Well, there's a hammer in game, but he's not a class that you play.
Was that well, the class is Master of Ceremonies.
Right, right.
It was,
So
it was Master of Ceremonies hammer, right? That's the
correct. There is a Master of Ceremonies hammer, but he doesn't have an actual hammer most of the time. That's
but you also can't touch him.
no. He's got a really great AC. It's very hard to actually. You wouldn't want to fight him, whether or not he's got the hammer. You wouldn't want to fight him.
That's true. That is true.
But like, he does help with a lot of useful advice. He's got a really high rhythm score, so like, yeah, but. You don't want to get in a fight with him, and you don't want to take any financial advice from him. Like,
so for the most part, you're negotiating and basically asking him not to hurt him.
yeah, that would be a good idea. Playing nice would be a good idea. And also you don't try on his magical shoes.
And
He has magical shoes.
Mm-hmm. And playing nice is also the tactics we should take here with Conduit.
I think that the 3.2 approach would be much more effective than the 4.0 approach. I think that Conduit is operating within a set of rules that doesn't seem to be violent or likely to end in violence, and there's little reason to respond with such.
Oh,
Now, before this ends up being an FNF session, we should probably submit our reports and
yeah, and then I guess we wait again another 24 hours to see if we
see
get
what might happen. Do you think Ralco will give us more to do now? I mean, what do we think is going to happen?
I mean, we're not first contact.
Orders, what that may be.
I think that they're going to want me to try to figure out a way to reduce the interference with the comms.
Or track the signal.
So, yeah. Our previous efforts weren't considered too abrasive. Hopefully, whatever methods Rollcore insists that we use won't harm or offend the Conduit.
Yeah. All right. Well, we should get to our individual reports, and don't forget later in the community areas, music lessons.
Mm-hmm.
We might even,
if my writing wraps up early, I will check that out.
Excellent.
Yep.
All right,
Royal Writing Company is now ending the feed.